you guys. So with that, welcome to New Knives, everybody. Today at Blade HQ is March 11th, and we are talking about some of the newest and coolest knives to hit our shelves. And we've got some fun stuff, starting with the Benchmade Meat Crafter. And this one, we've seen the Meat Crafter before, but this one's special. This is the mini Meat Crafter, where it has a 4-inch blade instead of, I want to say it was like a 6 or an 8-inch blade before. So I always thought the Meat Crafter felt less hunting knife and more kitchen knife. In fact, I've joked at length of getting a Meat Crafter for the kitchen because it's just such a great thing. A sort of fillet knife. I would get it to slice meat. Like, if you ever tried to slice brisket with a chef's knife, you want a little bit longer edge. It'd be so nice. But now we have a mini one, and this to me feels like a hunting fishing supremo. So over here we have a CPM 154 blade with a nice temper on it. So it's got a little bit of flex in the blade. So if you're getting around a bone or something, it's going to be nice and easy for you. That still Santoprene handle. It's going to be nice and grippy, especially when wet. And if you're hunting or fishing, your handle's going to get something slimy on it. So that'll be a bonus for you. A little lanyard hole for extra attention, and then a Kydex sheath right here. Got an orange front and this sort of gray on the back, which I think matches the green very nicely. Throw this in your pack. It's not going to be too heavy, but it is seriously going to level up your field processing of your game. Very nice work, Benchmade, and not a terrible price either. $162, getting you USA made, backed by Benchmade's warranty, select edge. It's just a great knife all the way around. Very good work, Benchmade. Next up, we have from CJRB, probably the knife I'm most excited about on the table. These are the Pyrites. So these are on pre-order right now. They're going to deliver in April. But let me tell you about this. We have a stainless steel handle with this sort of CNC radial machine texture in here. Gives you some nice grip. It also looks really nice. It almost looks like it's going to be contoured like 3 dimensions, but it's actually not. It's flat. It just looks that way. So it's not going to be bulgy in your pocket, but it's going to kind of have the look of a bigger knife, which is fun. And I wish we could kind of catch this. I wish you could see from my angle. I'll see if I can catch that in there. In here, we have a lot of internal milling that really lightens this up. When Dallas, who worked on this exclusive, handed it to me, I'm like, okay, so you got a titanium handle. He says, oh, no, we don't. That is a steel handle. So steel has a little bit less tendency to bend than titanium, and it's going to be harder and less likely to scratch. So it's going to look a lot cleaner as time goes by. I know some of you guys love those snail trails in your titanium, which is super nice. But if you prefer a more clean thing, we're going to get that here on the steel, and a CPM S90V blade. So this is where I'm going to tell you the crazy thing. CPM S90V is a very hard steel. It is has 9% vanadium, so it's going to be really hard and hard to grind. And because of that, oftentimes S90V gets you north of $200 for a price. However, this thing, $89.95. CPM S90V. Love it. And we're getting both the drop point and the Wharncliffe blade shapes with these nice satin finished S90V blades and that steel handle. I'm very excited for these. So once again, these are for pre-order right now. There's a link in the description. Head on over and pick those up. They will ship in April. I'm very, very excited. Next up, new from NAFS. We talked about this a little. We have the Lander 2, and this one's got the micarta handle and sort of this gray finished CPM S35 VN blade. And so Ben Peterson, who used to be over here at Blade HQ, has often started his own company, NAFS, and I really like the direction he's taken this. So first of all, he's sort of coming into that $130 price point to grab as a knife that is like the everyman's knife. It's a little bit of a spend, but it's not too crazy. It's a little bit, but not. It's affordable for most folks. But you're getting a nice blade steel, an ambidextrous lock, and then he has this little patch here because the pocket clip is reversible. So it's an ambidextrous knife all the way around. So if you're a lefty and you're looking for a great everyday carry knife, the Lander 2 will do it for you. And the other thing that the Lander series has that is really interesting in my opinion is the scales. Ben has open sourced the scales. So I would say the micarta is one of the most common mods people would do. They would go and download the files and then have some CNC shop cut out a micarta scale for them, and it wouldn't be too expensive at all because he's just said, here's the file for the scales. Make them out of whatever you like. Super cool. Except he's just doing it for you now. Instead of having to get the knife and then customize, you can just get the Lander 2 of your dreams right here for $134.95. Very nice. Excuse me, $139.99. $134.95 is the next knife on the table, we have a restock of the Kershaw Launch 4 with the Damascus blade. So I was talking a couple weeks ago, we had a Launch 4 up here, and I was saying this is California legal, it's super great, but it is also a tactical knife, you could say. Like, people like autos for that reason. It's a snappy one-handed opening. You grab it, you hit the button, you're in business. However, when I see this, I also see just like a super slick box cutter sort of thing. This last couple weeks, we did a video about switchblade laws, and I was talking to Doug Ritter, and he was saying that there was a ton of knives back in the day that were about like this, basically a Kershaw Launch 4, a little thing that people who sew could just snap that open and then cut little threads, whatever. That way you don't have to put down the piece, you don't have to do anything weird. Sort of the predecessor to the seam ripper was a small auto like this. And when you see something like the predecessor to a seam ripper, you're looking at something like, people who sew know, you're looking to make something that looks pretty, that is fun to look at and all that. And what's more fun to look at than a Damascus steel blade? What's gonna fit in better? So I present to you the Kershaw Launch 4 Damascus tactical sewing knife. I hope you all enjoy it as much as I do. That sentence just tasted good coming out of my mouth. Anyway, these are going for $135.95, USA made. Get them at BladeHQ.com. Next up, new from WE Knives, we have the NAFS. I'm not sure how you're going to say that. And this is a new variant of a model we've had. These dropped today. I know these have been hot. These knives tend to sell out quickly. They might even be sold out by the time we are filming this, but I hope that they are not. These are really great. They're a big knife. So the blade stock is not super thick. It has some heft to it, but nothing crazy. But in the hand and with this tall grind, it just wants to slice so much. Like, it's almost kitchen knife-esque in that way. It's got a nice polished satin finished blade here, so it's not gonna stick to stuff as well, and also a needle-like point. So if you're the kind of guy who likes to carve your own lunch at work, I think this would be a great knife for you. Has a nice look to it, and in classic WE Knives fashion, a just super smooth action. Very nice indeed. Got a milled titanium pocket clip. This particular one's got these tiger stripe anodized flame. I imagine they get a really tiny like torch and then just weave these in. But it's a very consistent thing. I imagine this is a process that must be done freehanded, and they do a really good job of it over at WE. Very nice indeed. These are going for $306 at BladeHQ.com. Next up from Sencut, we have the Omniform. So this is one I hadn't heard of before, but I've heard of it now. It's a nice big handle with a simple groove here and a nice long thing here. So if you have a huge hand, like my friend Dallas over in the buying team, he is my gold standard of huge hands. His, like, I think he says it was a size 18 ring, huge, huge hands. And I imagine this is the kind of knife that would fit him just right, because I could easily squeeze 1/5 of my fingers on there if I wanted to, and I had 6 fingers. I don't have 6 fingers, so I don't know why I'm saying this. But this is a cool knife nonetheless. I want to say it's a 9CR18 MOV blade. 9CR18 MOV, I was right. Trust the instincts. And a nice tall flat grind. This one's got a very coarsely textured G10 handle. So this is like a hard user when I pick it up. I'm like, this is something that wants to go to work. I'm wearing leather gloves. Maybe I have a little bit of slip in the gloves themselves. This extra texture is going to come in handy. Very nice. Also an affordable knife. These are going for $39 plus. So depending on who, what, when, where, why, what other accoutrements your knife has. This gets a little more expensive, but it's a great knife all the way around. I do like the Omniform. And then last on the table, we have the Civi Quake. So the Quake is of the style of the Quaken, the Japanese style. It's fun, I like it. However, there's something about this knife that I like a little bit more than the blade, I should say, is this handle. So this handle is a peel ply G10. So for those of you that don't know, a peel ply is where the G10 comes shipped to the manufacturer in a big sheet, and that sheet has a piece of plastic adhered to the top, and then they mill out their handle, and then they'll peel that plastic off, revealing this texture. And that's where we get a lot of these textures, like this one over here. That came on the G10, they milled it out, they peeled it, and then the texture revealed itself. This one is they've peel plied it, but they also did a layer underneath of a different color. So I've seen blue, red, yellow maybe, but there's a few different colors, and they milled down just enough to show off that color. So it has a bit more of a pop and flare. Sometimes EDC knives get really just black. And black is cool, don't get me wrong. If you can do it well, it's great. But sometimes it gets a little boring in my opinion, and that's where I think this is gonna excel. It's just not a boring color. It's gonna be great. I enjoy it very much. Nice bearing pivot. And here you can see this track up here. Here, I'll bet if I drop the blade, it'll be easier to see. Up here, you can see how the stop pin is detained. So every folder, no matter what is going on, has a stop pin. So there is a pin, it's either mounted to the blade or to the handle that will stop the blade from over traveling. And sometimes they'll just let the stop pin float free. Sometimes they'll double it with a thumb stud. I'm just glad that they made this cool track because it's a blade mounted stop pin, which has some benefits. It's not a front flipper, it's a regular flipper. Sorry about that. It's a blade mounted stop pin, but it's contained completely. So it's gonna be a nice clean appearance, but then the stop pin isn't gonna get gummed up with dust or whatever because it's stationary. Very cool knife indeed. These are going for $49.90 plus at bladehq.com. Anyway, everybody, that's for new knives. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Except for all you people in the live.